Mori ore te whānau, no mai, hoki mai, welcome on in or welcome back to the 99Dreams podcast. If this is your first time listening, welcome everybody. I'm the host, I'm Raori, and today I've got an amazing guest. I have my cousin on the show. I'm really excited for this one. I love showcasing some of my whānau, and I love for other whānau that watch the podcast to get to see what some of our amazing whanauna are up to around the motu. So without further ado, let's welcome in the cuz Tom Bergen. Tom, welcome in, brother. How are you?
Oh, so good. Kia ora koutou, everybody. I'll just give a quick intro about myself, and we'll roll from there. Really happy to be here. So, ko taranaki te maunga, ko Waitara te awa, ko Ngāti Runu i te iwi, ko Aotea te waka, no Mātuna hau, ko Max Bergen toku pāpua, ko Shelley Bergen toku mama, ko Tom Bergen toku ingoa. Kia ora Raori. Awesome to see you again, cuz. It's been a long time. Really happy to just share my experiences, and been following the podcast, big fan, so keen to be part of that mahi and just really, share what's going on.
Nah, glad to have you here, cuz. And like I said, whānau, really excited for this one. This is going to be super fun. So, me and Tom, we both studied at Otago University together. And this guy, he's on a mad study grind. Look at him now. He's doing a PhD down there in Wellington. So, why don't you tell us a little bit more about that PhD that you're doing, my cuz?
Yeah, so I suppose that the study journey in general, it's like everyone's. It kind of goes all over the place, but it's started off at the great Rangatahi College in Martin, a small little place. A lot of people might know it in New Zealand, but I moved my way to Otago Uni, mainly to just get away to a different place and to really get a different experience. When I was there, started off in physiology, thought it was a little bit like not applied enough, went all over the place. No one wants to learn about cells non-stop. So changed it to PE and really took an interest to sport and exercise science. So from there, kind of just completed my undergrad there, met lots of cool people in PE, like this fella over here. And then completed my honours there. Took a gap year off working in Flaxmere in Hawke's Bay. So when I was there, it was real cool. It was like in a recreation centre, like kind of known for being a low socioeconomic area and stuff, but it was also like the experiences and the people you met there. I think it was really important. Then later on, managed to meet a person from Sport New Zealand. So it was actually doing a review for the PE school. So like going in as kind of a graduate, a recent one. So all of the connections like just kind of make it in the end. So that's why I ended up in my PhD now in Wellington. And what I'm doing is essentially looking at predictors of future physical activity for teenagers. So what's in their lives right now affect what happens later on, and whether they actually want to continue participating, and what makes them want to drop out, because in New Zealand we have a massive crisis, as a lot of people know, of people not doing enough physical activity, and in my own opinion, not having enough of appreciation for it. So that's kind of what I'm trying to push here, and working alongside our Crown entity for sport and recreation is really cool to do that, kind of from that higher policy level, which is something I've never been part of. So I really like it, and that's been my story so far.
It's a hell of a journey. I want to touch on your rangaha, your research mahi at the moment. What do you think some of the determining factors are that a lot of rangatahi are dropping out of sports?
Yeah, so one of the great things about this, I love asking it to people, because everyone has their own experience, whether you have kids or whether you yourself went through this experience. There's, long story short, there's 1,000 reasons why it could happen, but following from a more research point of view, there are lots of things to do with the amount of physical activity you do when you're younger, whether it's lots of different types, so different sports, whether you're walking all the time. These different types of physical activity kind of give you a bit of a variety when you're younger. So when you're older, you almost have those extra skills that a lot of people who just specialize didn't. So that's one predictor. There are other things like the social support you have. So a lot of us know that you have massive barriers if you don't actually have a good whānau, peer, coach support network around you, and teachers as well. incredibly important for that. And these kind of factors, and even your own psychology, there's a thing called physical literacy. Um, it's essentially the idea of like your competence or how confident you are in doing physical activity. And if that's low as well, then that's another factor. Lots of ways to measure these, but a combination of these kind of factors is why people drop out. And I think in New Zealand itself, we have this. It's weird because we have this massive opportunity to make all of these good. We have the resources, we have the right like kind of knowledge and like facilities, and yet somehow we're one of the worst in the world in terms of what we actually produce and things like obesity rates or mental health. So yeah, that's something that's been really interesting to me.
Do you also think that there's a bit of that tear down factor as well? Like how anytime someone reaches a certain level of success, people are like, yo, shit, I would have smoked you back in high school. Or I remember back at primary school, we used to like hit you over and we used to run it straight at you. We used to bowl you over. You were nothing back then
Yeah,
as
it's
people start getting into it.
yeah, like, and I'll talk to you about that as well, like the competitive nature of sport in New Zealand and a lot of the developed world. But it's weird because when you get past your prime, let's say 18 to 30 years old, like no one cares about you being that bloody like top rugby star or running marathons all the time. It's like you're just trying to like, walk for half an hour a day, like do your basic levels. And a lot of people don't get that. Like that's most of the population because I actually do public health now. Like that's what it's changed to. And yeah, the big part of it is if you look at it from the population, what happens? Like, are people active? Do people care? And a lot of the time they don't. They've got families, they've got kids, they're working all the time. And you just got to try and like work around all of those. So I really do think that tear down factor is a big player when we're younger, especially for rangatahi themselves. But yeah, later on it just disappears a bit, and like you have other issues in life.
Yeah, straight up though. I don't have kids, but my brother has a kid, and they're a handful.
Yeah,
Even long enough to want to give them back. You're like, oh, that's it. I'm done. It's a handful. So
yeah,
you
and
can only
like I've
imagine
been in
how
jobs
hard
and
it is.
stuff with them as well. Like they don't care about the future. Like they're very focused on the now, like what's in front of them, and like every little thing. Like we're the same. Like we're not that old, So we still remember those days where like, the littlest things would just set us off. Like that was all we cared about. Oh. I reckon that's what maturity is. Suddenly looking back and thinking you're cringe. Well, when you hit
Oh,
that point in
easily.
life, you're like, oh, now I'm mature.
Hard out. Hard out. Do you think like sport retention and dropout is a little bit related to like maturity as well?
Yeah, so just further that, what do you mean exactly? Like
Like as you're younger, you kind of tend to chop and change a lot, and then sometimes you do just drop off big
hmm.
time. But then when you're older, you kind of have different goals in mind. So a lot of people, when they reach 18, 19, 20, and they want to do that weight loss, and they actually
Yeah.
crush it as compared to when they were younger.
Yeah, no, actually I agree. A good point. So one of the things to kind of note when you do get to that 18, 19 year olds, like I mentioned the idea of your priorities shift. So I suppose it's not being mature, but with maturity comes a lot of these extra expectations and responsibilities. And so because of that, physical activity often gets thrown off to the side. It's not important anymore. And that's something that's sad to me because we're humans. Like you can bring it as part of your life. Like it can just be a normal day thing, biking to work or walking your kids to school and stuff. But we just don't promote that enough. And so I don't know. It's like you do mature and there are changes, but I wish we had a way to mix them both. Like they can work in sync. We just don't have a system yet to kind of push that enough, from in our society.
And that's the importance of this research, right?
Well, I'd hope so. Yeah, I'm not the only one. Like, luckily, some people gave me some money, and they thought too. So, uh,
Ah, man. Well, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this further develops as time goes on, because it is something that doesn't sort of need to change, but it's something that we kind of need to address in this country.
yeah. Well, it's this idea of I think we do sport well, But that's why I keep saying the word physical activity, because sport isn't everything, As much, don't say that to every PE student who comes on here and stuff. But I mean, hopefully they'd agree. There's a lot more to it. Like, there's a lot more you can do. Even I mean, I've been learning a lot more about tikanga as time has gone on, and the idea of like tonga takaro or the tramps you can do in nature, focusing on the water and the sea, like moana. That kind of stuff is all physical activity, but it's not under a traditional sport setting. And that, if we push that kind of stuff more as well, it's like further reach, more people, more ideas to teach as well, which is really fascinating.
Yeah, it makes so much sense too, because a lot of Maori and Pacific Island whānau, they're out there diving, and sometimes they're diving daily, which is, it's pretty strenuous activity, especially if you're going deep and trying to get crays and stuff like that, versus going and playing sport. You don't actually have to go to training. You can still just rock up on game day, get out there, run your 20, 30 minutes of game time and come back off, and that's you for the week, and you think you're sus. But it is, taking it back to diving, even if you're working on a farm, herding sheep and stuff like that. Like you said, tramping, walking, reconnecting with the tire. There's so much more elements to it, eh?
Yeah, and it's nice, eh? I think that variety is cool. I always try and push that. Like, go out. One of my recommendations, just go out, do something you haven't done before. It doesn't matter how old you are. Like, you'll just learn something crazy new. Like, a good example is I've taken up dragon boating over the summer. Have you ever done that before? Or
nah,
it's like
I know what it is.
Yeah, pretty similar to wakaama, but the difference is you're kind of like on one side, but more of like a proper canoe feel to it. But yeah, I've never done a water sport before. It's completely new, and I feel like I've just like met all these new people, gained all these new skills, and it really drives home that idea of like, man, I love physical activity. I love learning from it and seeing what other people learn from it as well.
That's the best part of it too, is like sort of pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, getting into a space or a new realm, and you're just like, let's go, let's get it.
Yeah, exactly. Like pushing yourself as well.
Yeah. Does that mean you got to come back for some iwi wakaama?
Oh, man, I've never actually been in a waka or like paddled along with it, despite doing dragon boating. So I'd love it if someone needed me on the team or whatever. Always happy to fill a seat.
We'll try and link you up. We'll find some people out there.
Nice. It is growing in Wellington though. Yeah, like heaps and heaps of people doing it here. So maybe I'll have to transition at some point.
Hard out, because I know I was talking to one of the aunties the other day, and there's a wakaama club here in Waitara now. So
nice. Oh, that's big.
If you're ever back home, need a paddle, I'm sure there'll be a seat.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the beauty too, is like the paddles. Yes, you can get really expensive one and stuff, but you can also just kind of do a makeshift one, and it would still work. Like, I don't think people would really get on your case about it.
Hard. And you can borrow some paddles that they have at the clubs and stuff, because they get a lot of funding nowadays. So they buy a lot of gear for people to use if they're new to the sport or want to just give it a try.
Yeah, it's really growing, in the whole country. It seems like it's becoming maybe it'll be a national sport one day,
We'd be elite.
Yeah.
We'd be elite.
And then that's the whole other argument too. Is it supposed to be elite, or is it supposed to be like that social aspect?
True. I don't know. That's that whole thing, eh? Competitive sport versus social sport. Yeah. Both are beneficial.
Yeah, and it's especially for something that is kind of grounded in traditional practice. Like, it was never meant to be a straight competition and stuff. It was more traveling and getting to places.
Yeah, that functional element, eh?
Yeah. They weren't sitting there like, we're gonna boost off the Guzzies on the side, like.
That's us, as fast as you can go. Let's get to Aotearoa.
Yeah. Captain Cook's coming. Let's beat him by hundreds and hundreds of years. Maybe they were rushing. Maybe they were.
Yeah, probably. Last one there has to live in Otago.
Yeah. I give them a lot of credit, eh? Like, their navigation skills. Our ancestors knew what they were doing.
Yeah, and they weren't just coming over on those little canoes that all the artists and things say they came over. They had proper sails and everything because there's no
Yeah,
way you could traverse oceans during who knows what season.
yeah,
Even in summertime, we just see, some hectic weather. So they came
yeah.
and they traversed their ways. It's phenomenal how they managed to get here.
Harder. Yeah, and it's funny too because even with the sales and stuff, I'd imagine it was like minimalistic. Like they're not trying to make these massive ships that like have all the stuff that you don't need, and they still got here in a much better fashion. It's amazing.
Yep. And look at us now. We are reclaiming that
Mm.
identity. We're reclaiming those narratives and those stories to sort of put to bed some of the narratives that it's all myth and legend and all that kind of stuff. It's actually scientists are now proving a lot of our myths and legends to be true. Shame.
Yeah, like I'm sure you've looked into the ideas of like I found it really fascinating. Yeah, for example, like the idea of tapu noa, like sacred, and I suppose what would it would be more like normal or everyday use essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that was really cool to me. The idea it's like, for example, like water, you'd separate it into like sacred or everyday use, and it was mainly because like this everyday use was like dirty, so you'd use it for like washing and stuff. But you wouldn't drink it, and I'm like, that's so smart. Like obviously that's so scientific, and they knew it back then. They just didn't use the words we do. I've
Yeah.
gained so much like respect and knowledge in that area, and it's been so cool.
Because we managed to avoid like 80% of the disease that you read in the history books that occurred in Europe because they're pouring their shit out into the streets, or they're drinking that unsanitary water, whereas here our people were like, if you're swimming there you're not going to drink there, so let's find another
Yeah,
spring to drink from and stuff like that. It's such an intelligent way of living before civilization arrived.
yeah, exactly, and especially like having it's almost like foresight too to find a land that you can have these practices and kind of develop your own tikanga and your own way of life. Whereas in like England or whatever, you just kind of have to go with the majority because there's too many people. Like everyone's locked in. Ugh.
It is such a crazy thought, eh? Just thinking about it was not even luck that they came here. It was
It's almost
with purpose.
like fate, yeah, or like some sort of destiny to be there, right?
Yeah,
I don't know, whatever people believe. Like we all have different reasons on why we think that might happen.
hard out. But hey, I'm just stoked that we're here.
Yeah, I doubt. And if they didn't, we wouldn't be here. So yeah,
Exactly, and I love our history and our people. It's such a rich history. Although a lot of it is a sad history. There's a lot of wrongdoings, but it's I think, and this is my opinion, it's given us that strength and that hope and that resilience to push through and to sort of say, hey, yes, we've been dealt a shit hand, but it's with those cards that we've been dealt, we've managed to turn that into a pretty decent win lately.
yeah.
But it's come off of the hard work of a lot of people before us.
Well, yeah, and it's something I just really hope. Like, I'm not really a super religious person and stuff, but like for people that believe in it, it's like I hope they think of like ancestors looking down and being like, "Yep, like we love that our work has continued." And I mean, even in a physical sense, like their mokopuna and everyone, like they continue that work that by the generations. So no, I think it's a pretty magical thing that we can continue the work that they do as long as
Ah,
we do keep pushing for it.
yeah,
don't,
yeah, we got
don't
to
let
keep
culture
pushing the
die like
envelope.
it does in a lot of other places in the world.
100%. We got to keep pushing the envelope, keep reclaiming what is rightfully ours, and
Yeah,
establishing Tino Rangatiratanga within this civilization, or this what do we call it? This new age government.
yeah, true. Yeah, the westernized government. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, this government that we had to adapt to, that they
yeah,
introduced in our own country.
yeah. That's actually it's something as well. That's because I'm like on both sides. Yeah, obviously, like quite
Yeah, same.
European, quite Maori. Like a lot of us are in New Zealand, but um, yeah, it's also finding ways to reclaim it while also within the narrative of our country right now. Like a lot of people, it's like extreme, like we just have to go exactly back to how it used to be. but like it just doesn't work with a lot of our new system. So finding a way to adapt it in has always been like quite key, I think.
I agree. I agree. It is trying to find that level playing field. It'll never be a level playing field, but
Mhm.
yeah, you can't go from this extreme and then throw it all the way back into another extreme. It's just going to cause too much friction, and
Yeah.
it'll never come to fruition.
Well,
So
yeah, and
you
it's
kind of got
it's
to,
too much of a change for other people too. It's like if you ease it in, do it by stealth. That's all
yeah.
good. But if you just say, "Hey, we're doing all of this," that's when I don't know, like Pākehā politicians and stuff. They're like, "Nah, we don't
Oh
like any of this."
yeah, there's a lot of them at the moment.
Yeah, true. Oh, it's going to be an interesting year for that.
Oh yeah,
What's going to
I feel
happen?
like some of them are using similar tactics to Trump's tactics in terms of saying outlandish shit just to get a response from both sides. So one side will support the shit out of them, but the other side will be really anti it. But I think what they're doing, and it is pretty intelligent, is their name is being spoken so often
Oh,
because you either love them or you hate them, but you're
yeah.
still talking about them.
The old saying, "Any publicity is good publicity," right?
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
I can
So
tell
it's
you
going to
one
be
thing: I would
frightful.
never want to be a politician. Eh? It's such a
Nah,
I like
that's
it's all right
admin.
to talk about, but then if someone was actually like, "Hey, Tom, make this decision," I'd be like, "Nah, leave that to someone else."
Yeah, man. Like I'm always in my head, I'm like, I'd love to make a rule, but nah, man, I might just stick to making rules in King's Cup and
Yeah.
King's Cup only.
Hey, if you get a good role there too, you're gonna get more people love you. Like, it's not gonna be 50-50. It's gonna be 100% of that room loves your role.
Yeah.
Uh,
But it is going to be a scary time. There's going to be a lot of changes. I do think change was needed. I do enjoy our previous prime minister. She done an amazing job for
yeah,
what she was dealt with, but I do think and she was right to resign. Her time has run out, and she has had one hell of a run. That
she has.
no one
Yeah,
could ever predict a run like that, like
yeah, and like
terrorist attacks, COVID.
I mean, there are heaps of people I know. It's like that are more true blue national supporters and stuff, and it's like even those people are usually like, even if we don't like Labour, we still respect what she's done. So gotta give her a lot of credit where it's due. No
Yeah,
one would
man.
want to go through that process.
I could not imagine any of our previous prime ministers who could manage those crises with
Mm.
such dignity as she's managed to get through.
Yeah, like at the very least, she was just this awesome, like empathetic face all the time. Like
Mm,
you'd look on TV and you'd see her like smiling and like talking like slowly through what's going on. I was like, I really respect that. A lot of other people would just stumble over their words or say
yeah,
everything's fine, even though the country's on fire.
pretty much. And like you said, the empathetic face is definitely what we needed during those times.
Yeah. It's why people keep calling her Auntie Cindy, right? Because it's like your auntie who's just helping you out all the time.
Got that auntie status.
Yeah. That's a badge of honor for Aotearoa, sure.
Oh, 100%. You know, when you've cracked uncle or auntie stage in someone else's family, you've
Oh,
cracked it.
yeah. It's like you're literally the brother of that person or whatever.
100%. 100%.
And she did it for the
Like,
whole country, so
yeah.
impressive.
Oh, I could never. I could never.
Yeah. Neither here,
But
cuz, neither here.
but it is time for new leadership and someone who can take over from where she left off.
Yeah. And we'll just have to wait and see who it'll be, right?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because
Yeah.
you go one side with what's his name,
Mm.
Luxon,
Yeah, Luxon.
who's business minded but not very Te Ao Māori minded, which
Yeah.
is
I had it explained to me once, like, I only know so much about politics, but I think it sums it up where it's like Labour and National just go through this like oscillation. They like change backwards and forwards. It's like you go to one government and then it changes to the other in like 4 to 8 years or whatever.
yeah,
It's just like backwards and forwards. Like one makes money but doesn't really respect like progressive views. The other starts to like think of the little guy but runs out of money.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I don't know how to fix it fully, but yeah.
It's kind of One's the younger brother, one's the older brother. The older brother's the one trying to be kind to everyone but runs out of money. The younger brother's spending everything but makes a lot more
But he's
too.
having doing a lot with it.
Yeah. He's like, we'll spend this, but we'll get this much back. So we'll buy some of this, we'll sell that off.
Yeah.
The older brother's like, bro, I gave you all that money. Yeah, well, now, who cares?
Yeah, and then he has to go get a job again and like remake it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, man. So I want to ask you as well, coming from Martin, how did you choose Otago? Because that's kind of pretty far away.
yeah, it was a big choice. No, you're right. So small town vibes. Like the same thing. It's you don't really get a lot of promotion of universities. So a lot of people they go on all these trips to like Auckland or check out Canterbury, Dunedin, all of the different universities and stuff. But a lot of people in Martin they don't really get that opportunity. Like you might check out Massey University, which is in Palmerston North, pretty close by. And at best, you might be able to go to Wellington, which is like a 2 and a bit hour drive. But I know, I suppose I wanted to see the rest of the country. I wanted to kind of expand my horizons a little bit more, and I got really fortunate actually because in year 11, through a Maori scholarship, actually, I managed to go on hands-on Otago or hands-on science. If you know what that is, it's like a science program for younger students and stuff. And yeah, I went to Dunedin with it, and I just really loved the place. I had an awesome time there and stuff. And so that kind of held with me for the next few years. I was like figuring out where to go. I was really considering Wellington for a while just because of, pretty good uni and relatively close, but still far away. But yeah, I think those kind of memories and that different experience and meeting a lot of new people that I had never met before, it really stuck with me over the years. And so I just asked people around in Martin who had gone, which maybe one person a year that you might know. Like literally, it was like one person a year above me, one person 2 years above. So limited knowledge, but through that they managed to convince me. So yeah, I ended up taking the plunge and never regretted it. I loved Otago. I mean, I'm still here in the university, just in Wellington, so it's stuck.
It is like a great university to attend, and the city is amazing.
Hmm.
It gives you that first real good taste of like being away from home because you're really away from home when you
Yeah,
get to Otago.
it
Well, for
does.
us anyway.
Yeah, like even the idea of being in the South Island, like just people speak a little bit differently. The environment's all different,
Purple.
they roll their R's and everything.
It is such a unique experience down there, but it is I truly think it's probably biased because we went there, but I do think it's probably the best university in Aotearoa.
Yeah, like I can't really like I give respect where it's due in other places, like certain programs, things like that. But I
Yeah.
mean, just that student experience. Some some people don't like it, eh? Like I've met people who are legitimately like people just get drunk all the time, and you don't do anything. It's like I felt like it was so much more than that. If you found the right people, like you didn't have to go get drunk, you didn't have to go do drugs or whatever. But it's like you could just like find your right area. Like I met people who played like Yu-Gi-Oh, like things that I played way back in the day, or like played Pokemon and stuff, and I'm like, this is awesome. Like this never happened in Martin. I would have just been called like a nerd, like a loser and stuff in Martin. So these kind of things are just so special to me. That's why those are the kind of things that made it the best. Finding people with similar interests.
Hard out, eh? It's so unusual to find such a diverse group of people that you have so much in common with in one place. Well, for us, anyway, coming from small towns, you hardly get that. You do get the, like, if you're interested in something that's outside the norm, you're either a nerd that's weird or bro up to.
Yeah, true. Oh, and that happened all the time. Yeah, like back in the day, like fair amount of bullying and stuff, I suppose, in my life. But it kind of changed as I went to university or as I got a bit older in the college years. So I don't know, you get to as long as you kind of hold on to your morals and what you like, then eventually it kind of works out, you know. Just like stick to
Harder,
yourself. Yeah.
harder. It's so true. It's like it is rough, in the first few stages of life, going through primary school is probably all right. You probably won't get too much of it. Intermediate, high school is when people start changing and try to pretend to be other people to impress other people. And then by the time you finish high school, no one really cares anymore.
Yeah, and circling back to that, like original points of like the PhD and uh, tackling teenagehood. Yeah, it's as you say, things change. Like people really do just become a different person as they get a little bit older. But I don't know, during that time, there's still like so much going on in your head, and like your pathway can be set, like how you act, how you think, and where you go. And yeah, I just really think that pivots away, like focusing in on that. And if we can
Yeah.
kind of tackle that and figure out how to make good, positive behavior going forward, then yeah, like a lot of successes will be made from that.
Oh heck yeah! I think it's just you just got to persevere with it. I think
Hmm.
as hard as it is, and it's so easy for us to say that now because we're on the other side of it, and
Yeah,
it may look a lot different these days for the kids coming through, but
yeah, and
just persevere, eh?
I always acknowledge the fact like there are a lot of people who I suppose they don't get the same opportunities or they didn't have the right person stretch up their hand at the right time. And so it's easy for me to say like, oh, just leave Martin. Why don't you just go experience the world? Blah blah blah. But I suppose a lot of people just feel like they can't. That's what I've experienced. Like so many of my old friends and stuff growing up, like we just have nothing in common anymore. Like I, they'd maybe still living in Martin or have done the same job their entire life, and it's not like I don't judge them or anything. It's like if that's their life and if they love it, then they should do that. But it's so anti what I would think, what I'd want to do, like in myself. So, and also, there's this little negative thing of I go back and I'm not trying to brag or anything. I'm just like I was in Dunedin the past 4 years. Like this is what my life was, and they take it as like so you're like a big shot, eh? Like trying to talk about where you've been and stuff. It's like, no, this is just what a lot of people do. Like, I'm not doing anything. What do you mean? I'm not saying like you suck. I'm good. Like, I'm better than you. But a lot of people take it that way. I think, which is always, I don't know. It's the opposite of what I intend. Trying to make combo.
It's tough, eh? Because like literally, all you're trying to do is just talk about what you've been up to, and that's literally what you've been up to.
Yeah. Like I can't lie. I can't be like I've done nothing. Like I've just sat there in my parents' house or something.
And I guess that's when you kind of come to one of those crossroads, and it's hard to make those decisions. But when you kind of have those friends that you've been good friends for ages, but it kind of the relationship gets stale, and you don't have that conversation where you can celebrate each other's successes, it's kind of like, oh well, I just got to cut you off now,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, cut the ties, eh? Because you made a comment earlier in this podcast too. The idea of what was it? Yeah, like the tall poppy syndrome, like cutting people down when they do well, and yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Those kind of things. If you can't find people that actually keep you building you up, like without making an ego out of you, like, yeah, then you're just going to be depressed all the time. Like it's just going to be sad.
Hard, but it's not even like trying to inflate someone's ego. It's just we need to like appreciate and support and encourage each other while we can, because our life is so short. Our time here isn't the longest, but we spend so long and so many days going, oh, look at Tom, he's doing a PhD. Look at me, PhD. Instead of
Yeah.
going, bro, that's amazing. Look at you. And you're like, your co-papa is amazing. So I feel like we should just normalize celebrating each other in those
Oh,
areas of
and
success.
oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, right back at you, obviously. Love the work you've been doing, like always putting in the hard mahi and, developing on things that interest you. I reckon that's something that's really cool with what you've done. So look at this little positivity circle. Love it.
That's what we need to do a lot more of. And not just you and I, but the rest of the world. We need to take these moments and acknowledge people for the amazing mahi that they're doing, because tomorrow's not promised, and you might not get that opportunity to be like, cuz love your mahi, man.
Yeah.
So
No, I get that, eh? Oh.
It's just the world we're in these days. Though it's so crazy to me that people just would rather tear someone down to make themselves feel better rather
Yeah.
than lift them up. And who knows what might come of uplifting someone.
Yeah, and I mean, another talk on that kind of front as well is like social media and things like that. The idea of we look at what other people are doing and we base ourselves off that. But it's just such a toxic way to do it. You've got your own circumstances and what you like. But when you're looking like, and I find myself doing it sometimes, I have to like take my head out of it and be like, no, Tom, like it's not you. I'll see people overseas like they're traveling all these cool places and saying how amazing everything is. But it's like, they probably have a very different way of life, like, or they were already over there, or it's just a holiday. But in my eyes, it's like, man, they're just so successful. Like, why can't I come up with something like that? And I feel like that's something that a lot of people in our generation share, and especially for our younger, like for the rangatahi growing up now, it's just something to really tell them, like that it's all good. Like live your own life and work hard. Don't worry too much about what old Joe's doing over there.
Exactly, but it is so hard to do that when on TikTok you could see someone be at 200 views yesterday, but then tomorrow they hit that one video that goes viral, and now they've got 3 million followers.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so hard, eh?
And it's like the lotto, eh? Like who knows who that's going to be, kind of thing.
Yeah, it really is the lottery with any type of success. You just got to work hard at it and do what you enjoy rather than do what, I'm not going to go and do Tom's research study because that's not what I enjoy. That's not what I would be, help get me through a PhD. It'd be cool to do, but will I succeed in that? Probably not because it's not,
Yeah,
my interest. So
and it's the same thing with me, like doing PE, for example. I mean, I don't have the same skill sets as the coaches and the strength and conditioning coaches and stuff. Like, I was always more grounded in the heavier science or kind of, I suppose, the population level thinking and stuff. And so it's like, we leave the experts to what they do, and I'll try and do my own, like, kaupapa in this corner.
it really is the way. So, Pano, if you're out there and you're struggling to find your way, just keep doing you, keep trucking along because it'll come.
100%, yeah. And make sure you always have that support around you, There's always people willing to help. You just got to find them.
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid to ask. What's your journey into Māori like?
Yeah, so that's a whole conversation itself. So current status, I think my tikanga has grown like amazing amounts. I really appreciate what it is. I've like researched, I've like talked to lots of people, and even through PEMA and lots of experiences like that, I feel like it grew so much and it's just continued. But the language side of things is still lacking. It's something that I know it's very difficult. So growing up, I had kind of the basic exposure, probably a lot more than other people. Well, a lot of Māori themselves. I still went to Marae. I visited whānau and Waitara, Auntie Kath, and all of the all of our good whānau over there. Rest in peace. But yeah, those kind of experiences they weren't really enough. So I think it ingrained this like open-mindedness. So I was always like, oh, this is a different way of life. This is something that is separate from kind of that westernized European look at life. But at the same time, wasn't taught, exactly what to do with like language or proper protocols on marae or anything. You just kind of hold people's hands and go along with what's happening. So I think growing up, it was difficult to like manage those two different lives, and it still is because I live a very split life of my European side and my Māori side. Throughout university, it really changed. I think mainly being away from Martin in itself, as a place that, like, it has Māori population. It's not small, but they never embrace it. They never kind of show it off in an open way, and at the same time, like, it's that classic hidden, like, institutionalized racism where I remember growing up, people would look at Māori or Pacifica and be like, oh, those are just the jocks over there that don't have any future or whatever and stuff. And like, growing up, I was like, wait a second, that doesn't seem right. Like, these are some of the smartest people I know, or like hard working. They're constantly hours and hours into their whānau or at the meatworks or countdown or anything. And we're sitting here like, I don't know, just acting like we're high and mighty because we started on a higher level than them. Like, we started with more money or whatever. I wasn't rich as a kid or anything, but still started with so much more than a lot of these people. And yeah, they somehow managed to get themselves up to that level. And I feel like it's like, what's better, to be born with this amazing work ethic or to be born with a more talent or at a higher level, but you have no drive, you have no ability to like increase your own abilities, or so that kind of thing. So that was my journey, I suppose. And throughout university, like I said, it really changed around. I learned a lot more, and I just say that I'm still ongoing, still going through that journey of reclaiming my own, like, Te Ao Māori principles and my tikanga. So yeah, every day it's something to learn and to manage and to find other people like yourself, that are living those dual lives sometimes, and we have to kind of manage to deal with the people in life that might not appreciate both sides. So
Yeah.
they're like so extreme a lot of the time. We're like, no, harmony is good.
Yeah, 100%. I'm the same as you, because always on that learning journey. It's never ending. But it's such a beautiful one to be on, reclaim your identity, but like knowing where you stand as a mixed race kid. It's like, yes, I am Māori, but I also acknowledge, my Pākehā side from time to time. I do know where my Pākehā roots come from, so I'm not neglecting them. I'm just focusing on the part of me that has been neglected for quite a while.
Yeah, and as you say, within our country too, right? It's good to be equal, but like right now, when one is so low and one's so much higher in terms of what's pronounced in the country, then you generally try and work on the lower one, right? Like build them up to an equal level rather than just like focus on them both at the same time.
Yeah,
like a firefighter, they should try and put out all the houses on fire. They wouldn't just like focus on one house, like that kind of analogy.
100%. Like, you wouldn't fill up a cup that's already full.
Yeah,
go
exactly.
for the empty cup.
Focus on the one that's got nothing in it.
Exactly. It is such an ongoing journey. I think it'll be one that is, everlasting, because, like you say, you learn tikanga, you learn mātauranga, then, you got to learn the reo. You can't do all of that at once, because anyone who knows anything about trying to learn is so damn hard to learn, even as a kid. So trying to learn three things. That's four. Three things.
Three things.
That's what it's like. You're learning three things all at once.
The 99Dreams podcast.
And that whānau is why I studied PE.
Oh, and you were one of the smartest kids too.
Definitely not. I think I was good enough.
That's true, and that's all it needs to be, right?
100%, cuz 100%. We've reached the time in the episode, my cuz, is where we get to, and I think it's an appropriate time too, is dip down into the dream deposit box and throw out some dreams that past guests have said, but then for you to put some of your own dreams into this dream deposit box. So the box here, it says, always remember when they doubted you. So I love that sentiment. Means so much to me, because I'm like, bro, that's the perfect thing to have, especially when you got dreams, because everyone always doubts your dream. They'll say, you'll never make it to university, or you made it, well, you'll never graduate. You graduated, or you'll never get honours. Oh shit, you got first class. So love the doubters. And so some of the dreams people have in here is something so simple as, just graduate and walk the streets of Dunedin. They want to own their own indoor sports centre. That was from Ash Watson.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, very fitting for that lad.
Yeah, exactly. Jack Nelson wants to work for Sport New Zealand.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. Who else do we have in here? We've got... That's right. Jackie Long wants to be a co-host of this show.
Oh, man. I bet you would love that, eh?
Oh, mate. I was like, all right, let me start getting the job description ready.
Yeah, internship, let's go.
Yeah.
Don't have money to pay you, but exposure, that's the one.
Hey, you got to edit all the videos. I need them by 5 p.m. Friday.
Yeah, you're just sitting back like, oh, this is now the
Yeah.
easiest thing ever.
Exactly.
He'll start hosting them.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Then I can, just take a back pedal and focus on other things.
Yeah, but still just chuck your name on it all, Yeah,
Exactly,
got to remember the brand.
Just have me come in for the intro and then, yep, there you go, bro.
Yeah.
So what dreams do you have, Tom? Do you have any dreams that you'd like to have achieved? And, doesn't have to be, within the next 1 to 2 years. It could be a lifetime dream.
Yeah, I think the kind of path I've been going on, one of the major dreams I want to do is I want to kind of create a world where people appreciate physical activity more. Or physical activity is more of a priority. I think that is kind of a major work dream that I'd want to do. Don't know how that would be yet, but suppose that's the other dream is honestly finding the exact dream. So those are probably my main two.
Let me write that second one down.
Yeah, my dream is to find a dream because I feel like we're always on this journey, always discovering new things, and I've never known what I wanted to do fully when I grew up or anything. I still don't, but life still goes on and you find cool things that you like doing. So that's enough to always strive to find a dream, to find something to do.
Harder, you don't have to have that storybook bloody, what is it? What are they, married at 22, house by 25?
Yeah. The step by step, to law, to job, to... I don't know.
As long as you're happy, eh?
Yeah, it's about kind of going with the flow and finding that, what makes you happy and what you want to do. And if you never find that, but you still had a good life along the way, that's fine.
100%.
I think that's almost like what I think the meaning of life is personally. It's like the meaning of life is always trying to find meaning in life. Like even when you're 60 years old and you've gone through your life, you have kids and everything and stuff, like you don't just give up, you don't just end there. You're like, okay, the groceries now, like I've got to find a way to get that faster, or it always continues. And to me, that's what I've kind of developed to think about.
I like that.
Yeah, it's one thing that I really liked about your podcast, like the idea of that. What is a dream, and does everyone have the same dreams? Like, well, no, I suppose everyone has a different outlook on it.
Yeah, and even if you might have a similar dream to someone else, it's still radically different because it's how you envision you in that particular spot. Like if I wanted this indoor sports centre, it would look hella different to Ash's.
Yeah. I always use like religion as an example too. Like even if heaps of people are Christian, they don't see God in the same way, or they don't see all of that. They all interpret it differently, and so that in itself is like, despite being the same religion, we're all different and we interpret it in different ways.
Yeah, hard out.
So I really get what you're talking about there.
Yeah, and like that's the whole purpose of this podcast too, is like in life you only live one. And so like kind of back to that meaning of life is I'm trying to learn how other people have lived their lives so then I can have heard experiences of 1,000 lifetimes but still only being able to live one.
I like that. That's cool. Yeah, it's that. Yeah. It's about like hearing a diverse range, actually going out, traveling, hearing things. Yeah, because I know you're never going to be able to experience what they do, but if you ask and you kind of, walk a mile in their shoes a little bit, then maybe you can get a taste of it.
Yeah, and you can't experience everything the world has to offer in your one lifetime. So hell, if other people go and experience things, why not learn from them? Understand what got them to that position, or how did you end up in Thailand, bro? Like that was amazing, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully you get a cool story out of it too. So a lot of the time you will.
Yeah. If anyone listening to the podcast knows Nicole Spriggs, next time you see her, ask her how was Turkey. You'll
Oh
get a
no.
cool story out of it. She's probably gonna hate that plug, but you'll get a great story out of it.
Yeah, if I see her around anywhere, I'll make sure to ask her.
Yeah, man, 100%. If you ever see her, ask her. I'm not gonna tell the story on the podcast. That's for her.
Yeah,
But
that's all
if you
right.
ever, yeah, if you ever see her, ask her about the rooftop in Turkey.
The rooftop. I love it. It's the best
Sorry,
when it's like
Nicole.
a vague start to a story. You're like, wait, what does that mean?
Yeah.
uh,
Sorry, Nicole, but I had to. It makes sense in the whole context of this conversation. It's a perfect plug. Plus, go reach out to Nicole Fano and ask her about it.
yeah, her podcast session was good. Listen to it.
Yeah. Go back, listen to it, and then you'll find her socials.
Yeah.
Another sort of formalized question that we do on here, not a formal question, but like one that's a formality on the show, is if you could go back and sit in front of 17-year-old Tom, what's some advice you'd give 17-year-old? Not even advice. What's something you'd tell him if you would tell him anything at all?
I think, yeah, that's a good question. Going to what we were talking about before, I've always thought I'd love to say that things will work out, or that, because at that time, I remember I was going to year 13 and like people were kind of just like giving up on school, like they didn't really care anymore, or everyone was like, a lot of my friends were leaving, kind of they were like in the years above and below. And so I was going through this time. It's not like it was the roughest time ever, but I was starting to lose a bit of motivation, or thinking like, well, what's going on? Like, why is everyone giving up? Should I give up? Is this just the way it is? But if I could just go back and say, no, like, take every opportunity, like, don't be so worried about the outcome. It's actually like taking the plunge. That's probably what I'd give to myself back then. Because I was a worried wart, and I didn't know, like, I didn't have any sort of experiences that much that a lot of other people had. So, but if I did, then, I might have ended up having a lot of these extra skills and knowledges and stuff. Even now, everything worked out in the end, I think. But, would have made life a lot easier back then. So, yeah.
I guess there's only so much that you can learn and experience in small towns, though. It's not like you live in a big city where you get all that worldly experience being around large communities. It's a lot harder in small towns to have it all figured out.
Yeah, and I always say, like, I try and, because everyone has regrets, but the idea is that you look back on them and you try and find the positive stuff. I think that's what's helped me get through life. So, for example, being in a small town, and this is a classic example I use. Martin had like no hills and barely any water around, like seas or anything. But now growing up, like as a full grown up, the 25, blah blah blah, I see these places like mountains or water and these amazing landscapes, and I get giddy. I'm like, this is absolutely amazing, blah blah blah. I appreciate it so much more, and I don't think that would have happened if I lived in a big area where that was just normal. To me, it would just be like the little things that don't matter, I had them all the time, but now it means so much to me, and it just like builds that passion. So yeah, I really do appreciate some of the things from being, from not having those experiences.
No, that's so true. Because, well, I kind of do still appreciate the ocean and stuff like that, but growing up here in Waitara, you get used to seeing Taranaki maunga, you get used to being around the awa, around the moana, rolling hills and stuff like that. But it's not until you leave, that you're like, man, I miss my maunga, I miss my awa, I
Yeah.
miss going up to the Waitara lookout and just staring over, seeing everyone go to the bottle store.
Yeah, and it's funny what kind of what drives your experiences going forward. So I went to Abu Dhabi last year for a conference. It was real cool.
Yo!
So managed to like present to an international audience and everything. But I remember I had a little holiday out of the back end of it, and everyone talks in the tour guides like, go see this building, go see this massive mall and stuff. And I'm sitting there like, I come from New Zealand where it's like a developed country. I see buildings, like they're not as big, but I still know what a mall is, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not exciting. Whereas things like camel markets and the desert, like dune bashing and stuff, I was like, this is so new, this is so different, I love it. So that's what I mean, like, yeah, pushing towards those extra things that you never got to do. I know, that's the good part of not having that much to do when you're younger.
Yeah, hey, you've already got that built up of, yep, when I get to this country, I'll do this,
Yeah,
and
you've
this,
got a
rather
list.
than,
You know, people will
yeah,
ask your bucket list, and you're like, it's too big. You know, I've got too many things on it. Probably won't do them all, but I'll try.
yeah, yeah. It's a small town vibe. You're just like, I already know. I've got it mapped out. Whatever country I go to, I've got my list.
Yeah. Surely you've got some of them. One of mine was we played Monopoly as a kid, and I'm like, I'm going to go to every single, because I found out it was in England. I'm like, I'm going to go to every single one of these streets one day. And that's always stuck with me. Still haven't done it though.
I think for me is going to some of the places where my European ancestry came from. So just seeing some of the landmarks where the descendants are from. So I think that's where I've got on my list, as opposed to, I don't know, going to a KFC or a mall or
Yeah, exactly.
any of the main streets.
Mainly tick that off, I'd hope already, you know.
I feel like KFC's never ticked off.
Each new week, you're like, oh, bucket list.
KFC Friday.
Yeah, a literal bucket list, chicken bucket list.
Finger looking good.
Yeah. Not sponsored.
One day.
Oh, one day.
Hopefully.
That's in the dream box, isn't it? To be sponsored.
Yeah,
by
man.
KFC.
KFC or Macca's, one of them.
Nice.
I can do the ba-da-da-da-da.
Hear it at the start of the podcast. That's when you know you've made it.
Yeah, those ones. Or just like segue midway through, be like, are you hungry? Yeah. I'm hungry. Could you imagine for like, $5.99?
The cheesiest ad. I love those, eh? It's like, man, I know you've been doing a quarter of your work lately, but a quarter pounder would really hit the spot.
It's summertime and you can hear the sizzle of the sand on the beach. We'll take it to the kitchen with the Colonel Sanders.
Yeah. This summer.
Yeah.
Two lads are going to the fast food restaurant.
See, we're putting out adverts already. We just need the funding.
Exactly.
We're ready to go. Macca's, KFC, call me.
Surely you put this into every single podcast secretly. It's like a portfolio people look at.
Oh, man. Well, the third and final one from the preset questions is, if you could watch this video back in 5 to 10 years and tell or ask your future self a question or a phrase, what would you say to your future self watching this back?
Oh. So a big thing I want to do is, like, after PhD and stuff, is travel the world and really, like, build on that, the diversity that I see, and, like, actually, like, go experience a lot of what I haven't been able to. So I'd love to ask them, like, where have you been? What have you been doing? Like, what are the stories? What are the experiences you can share with me? Because it would just be fascinating, like, to actually, it would be a whole different person talking to, you know? But hopefully they'd still be me, so I can, like, transfer it in a way. That would be the main thing. Yeah, what are your experiences? Where have you been? I would love that.
Yeah, what are your experiences? Where have you been? I'd love to know. Where are you looking at going?
Lots of choices, I suppose. I think the main ones that I'm thinking of are, for, like, short term, I reckon Japan would be amazing. Like, as a holiday and stuff. It just speaks to my soul. Like, love Nintendo, love anime, love the language, love the food, the history's cool. Like, it's really good. So that would be one of them. I think to, like, live longer term, setting up somewhere in Europe. and just
Oh yeah.
kind of visiting a lot of different areas from there would be really cool. And probably Canada as well. That's the other one. So
Oh, nice.
they're all like relatively standard places for people, but yeah, I think it'll still be something that I've never done. So I would really love to do that. Going back
And
to what
even
you
though
said as well about the your roots and like going over to Europe and stuff. There's actually this place called Bergen as well that my sister has been to, and it's in
oh
like
yeah.
Norway. I'm pretty sure. That would be really cool to see. Maybe not live there,
Oh,
but yeah, it just like reminded me.
oh, that'd be so cool.
Do you have anywhere specific in your mind that you'd want to go if you travelled over?
I want to go to a few football games in the UK,
Oh, nice.
just to get in the atmosphere. It looks crazy.
Who do you support,
Um,
by the way?
Man, I have no idea.
Ah, no, that's fair
I have no idea.
enough. But still, you could go experience it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like Neymar. He's probably the only one that I do know of.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
But my mate Jack Imre, who came on, he's always telling me to support Newcastle United.
Ooh,
So
controversial. Nah.
he's from there, so I'm like,
no.
well, I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Um,
So like I can never judge because I support Arsenal, but I literally support them because like none of my family did growing up. I played FIFA 12 as a kid quite a bit, and I liked the name Arsenal. I liked the idea of like guns and stuff. So I'm like, this is my team. And I have no special story, you know? But everyone else is like, my family for generations have been from here. I'm like, okay, yep. Okay, you have a better reason than I do. So
I think mine's just mainstream. I like Neymar wherever he's playing. That's me. I'm there.
Nice, yeah. Better get in quick, you know, he's getting older now.
Yeah. So I luckily on that same team they got that French dude. What's his name?
What?
Yeah, French striker on Neymar's team in PSG. He's on the
I'm
cover
not the best
of
with
FIFA.
names, to be honest, with the team.
I'm terrible. I know little about soccer, about football.
Yeah.
I just know that he's on the cover of FIFA. 22.
Oh, it'll be Mbappe then, probably.
That's the one.
Yeah, nice.
He's
I was
good.
like, wait a
He's
second, he's
good.
French. Yeah, what am I talking about?
He's good, man. I like him.
Yeah.
He might be my Neymar replacement when Neymar retires.
Nice. Oh, it's a nice, easy follow on. Same team at the moment. Why not?
Yeah. That's how my American football went. Like I was a big Randy Moss fan and went from the Vikings to the Raiders to the Patriots, and then like by the end of his Patriots career, his wasn't as great as he was early on in his career because he'd gotten older.
Yeah.
And I was like, I like this Tom Brady fellow. We'll stay here, and then we just follow Tom Brady around.
It's yeah, like in American football, they don't last that long at all, eh? They just get like real injured real fast.
It's a like high intensity game, but you have so much rest. So I feel like sometimes your muscles cool down too much, and then straight out on that field. And
yeah, and like the G's that they're hitting each other with. Like rugby, it's always like controlled tackles, and then football, it's just like rhinos going at each other, like American football.
Throw the whole body at him.
Yeah, exactly. Shoulders and all, like with padding. Oh.
It's WWE with a ball and like helmets.
Yeah, and like a little bit more, you have to do something with your team to win. I get why people like it though, right? It's like, as you say, it's just pure action.
Yeah, it's very, although the ads be long, but it's very entertaining.
Yeah,
I just don't understand how they become world champions when only one country play.
Yeah, true. The World Series and they just go around the states.
Yeah. I'm like, I know the world's a lot bigger than that.
Yeah, I find it funny when it's the same with like concerts when America will be like, we're doing a world tour, and they'll like do all of America and London, and like nothing else. It's like, is that a world tour?
Or they do one show in Canada, one show in Mexico, and there we go.
Yeah, that's even worse. You could drive there, like connected. Like,
we went international, friends.
Yeah, we took one step out of the border.
What's next for Tom? What's on the cards for Tom after he finishes up that PhD before you travel? Is there any in between?
Yeah, I think there's actually this weird transition period. So hopefully get it done 1st of February next year. Um,
Nice.
Never know, PhDs can go longer and stuff. But if I get it done, I suppose there is this transition period where you have to wait for your mark and you have to wait for it to be like to do an oral defense of it. So like a presentation, and that can take like months. So during that time, I think some short term holidays overseas, and also just figuring out what my next step is. Like, those transition periods are like the messiest, I reckon, because you're you hopefully offered something, here and there from like someone like a job or an opportunity somewhere else. But you've also got this freedom, and you suddenly think, what am I going to do with it? I have all the choice in the world, which doesn't happen a lot of the time, because when you're in university or in school and stuff, you have 8 years and then 4 or 5 years all planned out, and then suddenly you just have nothing. So I think navigating that is going to be a massive thing for me.
It is a scary time, but it's also a fun time because you, like you say, you have a little bit more freedom. You've got opportunities. You're not tied to a specific kaupapa. It's exciting. It's exciting, cuz.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, got to do one step at a time. It's almost hard to even look past that that area of like finish this first. Oh, it's been an experience though. Like the PhD itself, I never really planned to do it. I really liked my academia and stuff, but I never saw myself as wanting to go further down the line. And I suppose I still don't. Like, I love learning and I love what I'm doing, but I don't really want to be a professor, or like in the same university and stuff. So it'd be interesting to see what actually happens. Like, maybe I will end up because of just circumstance, but it would be still really cool to use that knowledge in a place like Sport New Zealand or overseas if there was another kind of place to push a physical activity policy or help out sport organisations and stuff. I think that's where I'd hope to be. But yeah, just figuring out the steps to get to that.
Yeah, it's exciting times, and obviously you got to get through this one last big hurdle. But
yeah. But no,
that's over with.
Yeah, been pretty lucky so far. I think it's been good.
That's wicked, cuz. That's amazing.
What do you see yourself for this? Where do you see this podcast going in the future? Do you have any kind of goals? Other than advertisement with KFC, past that, what else?
Other than landing KFC,
yeah.
Actually, the biggest goal for myself and the podcast this year is to apply and register/nominate ourselves in the New Zealand Podcast Awards for Māori Host of the Year.
Oh, very nice.
So that's what we're aiming for this year. In terms of longevity of the podcast, just continue to reach out and talk to guests who have a world of experience, even if they think they don't at the time. Who a few of my guests have come on have been like, "Oh, what? I can't provide anything." Then they come on and just bring bangers. But it's one thing that I love the most from this is being able to connect with people on that level, learn a little bit more about things that they're truly interested in, as opposed to when you catch up on the street, it's real surface level.
Yeah,
I just hope to continue to offer a platform where we can break past a bit of the surface, get in a little deeper, and just figure out, what our dreams are, how we wanting to achieve those dreams, and genuinely, what are you up to?
I appreciate that, kaupapa, so much. That's so cool. It's an awesome sentiment to have.
Yeah, and I love getting guests on because everyone's more intelligent than me. They might say that they're not, but your pukinga is different to mine. So in that retrospect, you are more intelligent. I might know something different to you, but
intelligence is like so different. There are musically intelligent people. There are artistic intelligent. It doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be more intelligence. Just they know something you don't, or you know something they don't.
Exactly, and that's what it's about. It's just bringing on people with more intelligence than me and getting to break things down and hopefully provide kōrero that is beneficial to other people who might be going through something similar or be interested in something similar.
Yeah, and throw in a joke or two along the way, so it's not too stale. I love it.
And it's just, that's just the personality of who we are, or whoever the guest that comes on is, however the show rolls. And 9 times out of 10, there's humour somewhere in there.
Nice.
You might not get the joke, but as long as we do, it's all that matters.
Some of the people watching, what's this niche Dunedin joke they're talking about? What is this rooftop in Turkey?
Yeah, where's this rooftop in Turkey?
Yeah, if I ever go there, I'm gonna have to sit on every rooftop and try and recreate whatever this is.
You just need to ask her for the story.
Yeah. Oh, I'm hooked.
It is a good one. I got I don't even know how long the damn Snap story was, but it was long as shit. I was like, God. Oh! It just kept getting worse and worse the longer it went.
Oh, nice. A night well spent.
100%. Oh, well, cuz as we start wrapping up the show, is there anything you want to leave the listeners or the viewers with? What you're up to? How can they contact you? Or any final messages?
Yeah, I suppose just one of the big shout outs is to the whānau out there. Really, really good to kōrero to you and reconnect with my cuz here. I know that a lot of us haven't properly met and maybe haven't seen me as we've grown up and stuff, so it's just really cool to be able to have a platform for that. So I hope you're all doing well. And the other thing I suppose is, for anyone watching this, just really keep watching along, keep trying to gain knowledge on new things and different perspectives, because I think that's something that this podcast does really well. And it will just help your life going forward, being open-minded and being empathetic to all people. So that's kind of the message I want to leave. But thanks so much for having me, Raori. This is awesome.
Thank you so much for giving up some of your time and joining us here, my cousins. I've really appreciated this. I've really enjoyed this. And I know some of the whānau at home watching or listening, they'll enjoy seeing this too, because I'm like, oh, look at Tom. He's so big now. I can already hear it.
Yeah. In terms of contact and stuff, do you want me to leave an email or something
I'll just link it down below, and they know the drill. If you're a regular listener, you know the drill. It's down below.
Brilliant. Yeah. If anyone needs knowledge on, rangatahi knowledge with physical activity, I'll help you out. Or I'll try to anyway.
There you go, whānau. Reach out if you have any questions or queries. Don't be shy. And if you want to figure out where Tom is, or if you're a fellow fitter and you're over in Europe and Tom makes his way over there, then reach out.
Yeah, definitely. Always keen to reconnect, eh? And here's some of the experiences. There was people like Nicole, whole new cohorts that I never really got to keep in contact with. So
Exactly. So, whānau, definitely hit him up. You'll get a laugh out of it. Cuz, thank you so much for coming on. I truly appreciate it, man. It's been a privilege to be able to catch up, and we'll link up next time you're back home in Taranaki.
Yeah, I'd love it, eh? I should be there sometime in the middle of the year for a couple of days for a PKW thing, so I'll try and keep in contact if you're around. It'd be cool.
Yeah, let me know. I'll come through to the PKW thing. I'll catch up with a few of them.
Oh, nice.
I did an internship there a little while ago.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, no, I'll try and keep in contact around that time then. Should be May, hopefully.
Please, yes. And to the rest of you, whānau, thank you so much for sticking along and listening. It's been an episode where I've really enjoyed it. I have so much fun. It's Tom Bergen. All his links are down below, whānau. And as always, I'm still Rawiri, still the host of the 99 Dreams podcast, and I still want you all to take care. Mōreore and ka kite.